we're especially happy to have Joe Zuccarello from Paragon School Pet Grooming, learns2groom.com, and just all things. He is our go-to grooming expert. And we talked a lot last year coming out of COVID of how to take advantage of the increase in baths and grooms. And so hopefully, I know a lot of you have put bathers through the Paragon School of Grooming. And so we wanted to circle back, Joe, and focus today. Now that you've got a team
Mhm.
that's in place, what are some creative ways to add revenue to the salon? And I know one of the ones you really like is better baths.
Right.
So how can they get more revenue in with baths?
Yeah. So again, thank you, gurus, for having me again. Thank you to all of you out there in Facebook land. And thank you to all of you that have already either watched the webinars or seminars that I've been invited to do with this great organization, but also to all of you out there that have already called me for, whether it be consulting services or you put your students through our Paragon Distance Learning Program. Listen, we struggle finding dog groomers, and we have a method that can help you, but it starts, there's so much of it depends on the bath. And I know we're doing some other things next month, but this better bath concept is something that many of you offer. If you're a full service pet care facility out there, many of you offer go home baths or exit baths or half baths or basic baths. I've seen them named just about everything. And listen, most
Departure
people,
bath.
what's that?
Departure baths.
Departure bath. Yes. I've seen it. I've seen all kinds, and maybe that's the only bath that you offer right now. But then many of you out there that I've talked to have a basic bath and a premium bath, or a basic bath and a full service bath, or a full bath. So two different variations of baths. And when I start really digging into the business model about baths, not only do baths transform the grooming business, but there's, I think, a lot of revenue potential left on the table if if we offer two different types of baths. So I'm always a proponent. One, I'm always an advocate. I'm always a big fan of offering the best experience possible. I don't like doing something halfway. I've never liked that. I think that not only do we take a chance on putting sort of half work or half quality out there, I think because we discount it because we feel like that's the best we can do, or all we can do, or we're almost just thankful somebody buys the bath from us or orders a bath from us, that we're willing to almost take a deep discount and offer the half bath or the go home bath. I'd like to almost say there's this concept of called trading up, or decoy effect. When you have a better bath or premium bath or full service bath, and the difference between that and another bath is only $5 or $10, most customers will want to trade up to that better bath anyway. And that's what you want walking down the sidewalk, acting as a fuzzy billboard anyways, is a better groomed, a better bathed pet, maybe with its feet trimmed and feather trimmed and things like that. But most of the people I talk to have, if they have to, the span of pricing is $15-$20 difference. There's almost no way for the customer in their mind to reckon the difference between those two. And what you're probably doing is actually inviting people to trade down than trade up. I'd almost rather suggest offer two baths if you're going to be that big in difference. But if you are going to, let's tighten up that and encourage them to trade up.
It's a great point. And I think one thing, Joe, I assumed everybody knew the philosophy about growing your own bathers, but maybe not. Maybe we should revisit how people can go from just providing departure baths, half baths. I hadn't heard half baths, which I'm really curious how you explain that. But
just the right side. Just the right side. Maybe the back side. Yeah.
So how have you helped? I know a lot of our followers get to where they've seen the difference in what a really good bath looks like and the revenue it can come in, and how you help them do that.
Yeah, and I will jump in before you say that, Joe. I was just trying to find the testimonial and I can't find it right now, but we actually did get, one of our clients had sent her bather to the school, and they learned how to do a better bath. And she said they did start charging more. But what she was most surprised when, people were willing to pay more, but she said she was shocked at the difference in the dogs who had a bath by somebody that actually learned through Paragon how to do that bath. Really, because I know, I kind of think, what's a bath? I have a lab. I just throw them in the water, wash them off, whatever. She said it's night and day, how different it was. And the clients 100% recognized it. They were like, holy smokes, what did you do to them today? Because they had been doing departure baths at bare minimum kind of effort. But then when they sent someone to school, it was a huge difference, which I think is one of the things I remember you saying early on, Joe, is when you have a dog leave your facility and you've given that dog a bath, it's a billboard. It's either a good billboard or a bad billboard. You want that dog looking really good because people are going to notice and say, hey, your dog looks great. Yeah. On the way out, I got a bath from the facility or whatever. But she definitely saw a huge difference. So I was just trying to find that, but I couldn't find the email. But anyway, but yeah, so go ahead and talk a little bit more about finding those.
So one of the things that we struggle with, everybody struggles, we can't find dog groomers. And the ones we do find might not be a great culture fit or whatever, because we're all fishing from the same pond and there's just not enough dog groomers to go around. But if we look at how do we grow, you can have this is the best part. You can have a thriving grooming business, a very profitable grooming business by not having a haircut business at all. Let that soak in for a minute. You can have a grooming business, probably even more profitable than a full grooming, just all haircuts. You can have a thriving grooming business without having a haircut business. And I will tell you that a lot of folks out there call them bathers, bather brushers, whatever. When you have exit baths, go home baths, departure baths, and we just ask a kennel tech or a daycare technician to perform that, we're going to get what we get. We can only have such a high expectation. Nothing taken away from those individuals at all, but that's not their gig. That's not their jam. But when somebody's trained how to perform those services and they do a great set of nail trimming or nail filing and ear cleaning and the natural foot trim or shaving the pads, all of that then necessitates and validates a higher ticket price because it's a complete process at that point. So at Paragon, our program, we used to have an on-campus school. We closed that to laser focus on providing a distance learning experience so that we call them groom techs. So we don't call them bathers. And if just by calling them groom techs implies that you have this trajectory of success for them that maybe they turn into tomorrow's groomers even. So maybe they get the bug and we train them the right way and they get the fundamentals that then lead them to becoming your tomorrow groomers. Because I will tell you, Susan, to your point, the best way to have a groomers is to grow your own. They last longer. They're part of your culture from the beginning. They've been brought up. It's like raising your own children, right? And they're just part of your family and they know you, they know what to expect. But along the way, they are very productive and profit generating groom techs who perform full service baths.
So how long does it take to get a full-time person through to being a groom tech?
Typically, what's really great about our groom tech program is you could put an ad out there, right? Recruiting and hiring groom techs, future groom techs who might become future groomers is a whole lot easier than trying to hire a groomer. So you can recruit them faster. You can train them faster. They can, even if, let's say if it doesn't work out, you can replace them faster. They might get into it and realize it's not for them. They might get into it and you realize it's not for them. But regardless, you can also replace them faster. Typically, our groom techs on average, this is true student averages, in about 5 to 6 weeks, a groom tech can be up to full speed. Now, they'll continue to hone their skills after that. They'll get better and faster, but a groom tech should be able to do 8 to 10 dogs a day on an 8-hour day, that could be probably generating up to between $350 and $500 a day, and you're probably paying them less than $100 to do it. So it's a very profitable wages to sales ratio. And I can teach when we have plenty of time, or I can work with you one-on-one, but we can explore that. But it is a very profitable, your wages to sales ratio in that regard is about half of what a groomer would cost. Now, groomers have a much greater skill, but think about the balance. If all you have is haircuts right now, you bring in groom techs, it rebalances your labor percentage and it's a really great mix. You actually become a profitable grooming business at that point.
Yeah, I love the baths.
Yeah, and so Maria actually said definitely a big difference with someone who learns from school versus on the job training. And again, who's typically training them for on the job is usually somebody who may or may not even be train themselves. So a lot of times you're going to have the basic, get them wet, put some shampoo on them, wash them off.
Yeah, wash and wear. We call that a wash and wear visit. So it's
that's
just
not, yeah, that's not what they're going to learn. And I will say one of the reasons that we do love Joe, because he has the same philosophy in terms of pricing that we do, which is that you need to price for the value you're providing, and you need to make sure you're making a profit and covering your expenses, obviously, and making a profit. And he has tons of formulas and charts and can help you do that if you're just looking at getting started in that. Maria also did ask, what's the fee for the Groom Tech program?
Yeah, so the Groom Tech program. So Paragon, we offer 3 different levels. Level number 1 is Groom Tech. That's the one we graduate. The Groom Tech do full service baths, shed control, shaving the pads, sanitary trims, brushing, all of that, all taught during level 1. It also includes safety and sanitation, pet handling, active listening and customer service skills, professionalism. So it's also helping you to create a well-rounded employee, not just somebody that can shampoo a dog and dry them and trim their nails. All of our levels are $900 each. There's ways of bundling those to save some money if you would like to do that, and we can walk you through those different levels. But you can go to paragonpetschool.com and go to the Learning Online page, and you'll get a full rundown there. There's even a place on that Learning Online where if you're going to pay for somebody else to go through the program, we call you a sponsor because you're a real special person. You're sponsoring somebody else's education. There's a sponsors page there. It says for grooming businesses. And you can listen to some people just like yourself, full service pet care facility owners, grooming shop owners, tell you their story and their experience with Paragon. Let us do the heavy lifting for you. It's hard enough trying to get people trained up. We'll step in and help you out with that for sure.
And your model is effective because some people think you can't learn how to bathe or groom long distance without a mentor. So maybe talk just a little bit about how you overcome that and do have a successful program.
So our program has multiple different learning methods because everybody learns differently. But one thing that we know that there's not a lot we can do if we can't be face to face all the time. We can't be in person. So my challenge to my team was create the next best thing. But in doing so, what we've done is in the program, there are embedded videos, there are practice quizzes, tests, and they also, all students have to, at different stages, show their work, and they submit the photos of their work up through the program to their assigned mentor. We have a Paragon mentor that's assigned to every single student. This is an employee of Paragon. These mentors are outstanding, and they care so much. They know their students by first name, all of them, and it's so much fun. They celebrate their successes, so it's a lot of fun, and they take it personally when a student is stuck and they want to help them get past it. They'll do a Zoom call, a phone call, an email, whatever it is to help that student along. We assign them. So when you're purchasing the program for one of your staff members, you're also getting a person, not just a program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know in January, Joe, you had emailed us saying January, sometimes things slow down and there's some creative ways that people can make sure that their grooming still stays steady. And so do you want to talk about some of those ideas that you had? I want to make sure we cover some of those ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're going to be doing some really cool stuff together in March. So I'll have a couple of appearances on something cool coming up in March. But one of those things is add-ons. So if you think we're going to take a really much deeper dive into what I call the 3 key elements to successful grooming business. And we talked about Groom Techs already, right? For a variety of reasons, right? They're more profitable workforce. They become tomorrow's groomers, so on and so on. But another key is add-ons. And we've got to focus on what role do we play or what position do we put ourselves in for add-ons? And I work with grooming business. I've worked with thousands of grooming businesses all across the world. And one thing is for sure, most grooming businesses, especially full service pet care facilities that have a grooming business, might offer 10, 12, 15 different add-ons. Oh my gosh. Too much is just too much.
Yeah.
So sometimes what we're doing, you have to remember, we have such a small amount of time with each customer. And especially if you're a full service pet care facility, you've got lodging and daycare and training and treat times and play times. If you have 12 things just with grooming, there's no way that you do a lot of everything, but not everything. You don't master one thing. So my thought is, and I can help you work through this, is narrow that down. Narrow it down. Be careful that you're not offering too many add-ons, but the ones that you do should be profitable, should impact the business, should increase frequency to your facility, And they should be something that is a real true result for the pet parent or the pet. One of which is shed control, right? Here we're getting ready to go into spring. Although if you look out my window, you'd never know. Snow and cold at 0 degrees outside. But shedding is right around the corner. And most markets start sometime in March and ends sometime September, sometimes October for the smile states, right? The lower part of the United States. Shed control drives bath business. Absolutely. Shed control drives bath business. And we're going to, again, take a little bit of a deeper dive in a future webinar we're doing. But so if you figure shed control drives bath business then necessitates the need for groom techs, and groom techs turn into tomorrow's groomers. So remember when you were back in school and you saw that food chain of the small fish gets eaten by the bigger fish, gets eaten by the bigger fish? Okay, so there's a grooming food chain. Shed control creates bath appointments, creates the need for groom techs, and groom techs turn into tomorrow's groomers. So that's how, and it adds a ton of revenue and a lot more profit.
So timing is good. If you start hiring now, you have time to get them trained and be ready to really have a good, strong shed control program. And I know we had one at Urban Tales, and I loved it because it's one of those that's a win for the pet, a win for the business, and a win for the client, because clients don't like all the hair around.
Mm-hmm.
Pets get uncomfortable, and that's the hair that gets matted. And then as a business, you do get more frequency from your clients. So if you haven't done a shed control program, listen to Joe. It definitely is a great model to build in, and you have time if you get started now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what would that look like as a basic idea? I'm thinking in my head, it's like a monthly thing that you get people scheduled, but is that kind of what you're thinking of, Joe?
Yeah. So what shed control does, and there's a whole methodology, and if you want to talk about what are the right steps to do to performing a shed control, what's the right marketing, what's the right placement in our market, how do we become the expert in that? If you go to heyjoepetpro.com, that's my website. I do some freelance consulting. I'll be happy to explore this a little bit deeper with you. You just fill out the little form and let me know, but learn more about you, your business, how I can help you, all of that. heyjoepetpro.com is where you can go to start that dialogue after this offline. But Robin, you're exactly right. So what we want to do is we want to create a system that changes a behavior. That's what we want to do. If we create something that customers pull from us, customers want from us because it's so intriguing and so helpful in their life, then they're going to want that more often. And shed control is a perfect example of that, because bath breeds visit professional grooming salons maybe because they need their nails trimmed, or maybe they rolled in something, or they've got bugs. So veterinarians have done a really great job with the bugs. We don't see that as often anymore. Rolling in something, okay, I see that. But nail trimming seems to be the most predominant reason why a bath breed would visit a professional grooming business. Now we give them shed control. Now we give them a reason to do that. Instead of coming in every 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 6 months, shed control treatments bring them in every 4 to 6 weeks. So we've just increased frequency because of something called shed control. We've increased frequency by 100, 200%.
And I also love that you increased the breeds that you're working with, because I have a lab, and I do chuckle when people go, "Oh, I should get a lab because they don't shed," and I'm like, my lab sheds a ton. And I'm honestly never, until I started working with you, Joe, I never really thought that there was something I could do from a grooming standpoint to help with that. Obviously, he's a wash and wear kind of dog, but having that kind of program where somebody could reach out and go, "Hey, are you tired of those little yellow hairs everywhere? There's something we can do to help you with it." And I think it's great because now you have expanded the people that might think about using your group.
And if anybody out there right now says, "Well, I offer a de-shedding like extra brushing," let me tell you, what I'm talking about is something completely different. What I'm talking about is a treatment. What I'm talking about is doing a very specific set of steps in a very specific sort of way, positioned very specifically in your market. And all of this will make sense if we get a chance to talk offline, because it's going to be one of those, oh my gosh, it's an aha moment. What I will tell you is that if you do what I'm telling you to do, your business will have an immediate improvement. Day one, positioning it differently. Because listen, let everybody else offer extra brushing in your market. Let everybody else tinker with what it is that you have been maybe tinkering with now. There's a way to actually make this a program. It's anything else. This is a huge opportunity. This is for the pet parent. This is for the pet parent who just lives with the shedding. Because
Mhm.
what's the solution? Nobody's given them a real reason to come in more frequently to a professional grooming salon until now. So
That's
yeah, so absolutely would work for you. And some people will do a like a membership or such. I think memberships and things work really well for self-washes, work really well. And I'm going to tell you, I have a lot of folks that now there's a lot of folks out there putting in self-washes, which I think is great. I think self-washes have yet to really see their time in the spotlight. I think they will continue to grow in popularity. But any grooming salon can be a part-time self-wash even. So if you think that you've got a market that's that needy for that, I've seen a lot of folks offer their grooming salon for the off hours, the evenings, and maybe like the Sunday afternoon time slots, where the grooming salon is now a self-wash. You already have the tubs, you already have the tables, you already have everything. What you don't have is a market to, you're not marketing it yet. It's already sitting there. That's what just kills me about pet services businesses, especially, is that your fixed costs are waiting to be used. Let's give it a reason to be used.
Yeah, it's interesting. The groomer down the street from my house actually does that. She doesn't promote it as much, but I've started to see it now where she does say you can come in and groom yourself. And I stopped by there one time just to check it out. And that's what she's doing. You literally are in one of her grooming stations. It's not set up the way I've seen normal self-wash, self-groom stations where it's literally designed for someone to be there by themselves with the dog. Hers, you're just using her space that she's not using right then.
Yeah.
So I thought, but she does have very limited hours for when that's available because obviously her and her groomers are typically using it.
Now, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of everything being full service, but self-service. If you have a pent up demand, I really think that some people that bring their pets in for self-service, then all of a sudden have a heightened appreciation for somebody else doing it. So,
Right.
I agree with that 100%.
so I think you'll convert some of those folks over anyway. If at the very least you're getting some of those folks in to then be introduced to your daycare or your lodging or your training and other things, because you've got that power of cross promotion as well. One thing I don't want to get too far along without saying is somebody had asked how much is the program. I have a promo code that I'd love for all of to extend it to the Dog Guru audience out there, and it's my initials JZ and then the letters or the numbers 100. So JZ 100. They'll save you $100 off of any enrollment. Put that to work, right? So it's not $900 a level anymore, and it even works on some of the combos as well. If you're going to buy a combo for somebody that you say, you know what, I've got a rock star who I know wants to become a groomer, I want to buy level 1 and level 2. You can use that on top of the discount you get for buying that bundle. So now here's something that's really interesting and a trend that really surprised me was that there's a lot of you out there that have those kennel techs and daycare technicians that do some bathing already for you. Enroll them. They've already got like the training wheels for jumping in and being successful as a groom tech. So enroll them, and then they might want to move on. Listen, what kind of career trajectory? Nothing against kennel techs and daycare technicians, but there's not a whole lot of big career trajectory opportunities, advancement opportunities, but there isn't. Dog grooming is a career.
So one of the things I'm going to just jump in because I know someone's going to ask this because we get this question all the time. And that is the person who says, I'm going to send this person and I'll even pay for it. But what if they quit? And how do I just love your take on this. But the way it's always presented to us as a question is, I'm going to get burned because I'm going to pay all this money and then this person might leave. So how do you counter that? Because I do love your approach to positivity in terms of working with these folks.
Yeah. First thing off, people are going to do stupid people things, right? So people are going to get into something and they're going to either misrepresent themselves or you wished something into somebody that they're just not capable of. You were hopeful that they would do it. So first off, we've got to work on hiring correctly. We've got to work on being upfront and honest and defining expectations and that sort of thing. What's really great about level 1, or let me back up a half a step. No matter who you hire, there are training costs, right? There are training costs to bringing anybody in. So one thing you forget is you don't put a price tag on your time. You don't put a price tag on your staff's time. You don't put a price tag on the opportunity cost of not having somebody there, or the turnover of upsetting a customer because you hired wrong, you trained wrong, and now they're gone. But it's not until you maybe contemplate putting them through a program like Paragon that there's actually a real life price tag. So don't be afraid of that. One thing I will tell you is that the price of not using Paragon and doing it yourself is probably 3 times higher than using the Paragon program to put them through the training. And I will tell you, you're stacking the deck in your favor by getting them consistent and clear training in a methodical sort of way than versus experiential. But let's say somebody does leave. What a great filter level 1 was, because if they're not able to cut it, it's better to have invested $900, $800 if you use the promo code to determine they're not going to work out, because had you kept them longer, there could have been work outages, inconsistencies, quality issues, God forbid, safety or injuries. I look at it as a wonderful filter so that if they don't work out, at least early. And there are people out, I'll have an employment contract with them. I'll make them sign it. Listen, totally your prerogative. Check with your state, make sure that's something that's even legal. But even if it is, I almost see that. Are you really going to pursue somebody who makes $10, $11, $12 an hour to pay you back for the training program? You're going to throw, the only person that wins in a litigation is the lawyer. So I think it's a bad first date also to enter into an employee contract. That's my opinion, right? I'd rather say, here are my clear expectations. I've done a really great job. I believe I've done a really great job of hiring. And if it doesn't work out, I'll chalk it up to, listen, it's a filter.
And I know you've also worked with some of our clients to set up some kind of goals for that person to meet. And if they meet those goals, maybe they get a bonus. If they've go through school, maybe they get some kind of pay increase, or maybe it's just a one-time bonus of something. If they stay 3 months, they might get something. If they stay for 6 months. So you're giving them a reason to stay as opposed to giving them a reason not to leave.
Yeah, we're giving them a retention bonus instead of a punishment if they leave or possible litigation. So it's a promise versus a threat.
Yeah.
So if you think about it that way, we're making them a promise but we're not threatening them. So if they stay, let's say they stay for 6 months, okay? They stay for 6 months. Listen, I could show you the math within just a moment. I can show you the math that a productive groom tech will pay you back in gross profit dollars. And there's even a return on investment calculator on the Paragon website now where you can enter in all of that and it'll calculate how many days it will take of them actually producing work to pay for their program. I will tell you that a groom tech who graduates level 1 within 5 days, they've paid you back in gross profit for every penny you've paid. 5 days. And let's just say, what if they last 6 days? You're in the black. Anything beyond 6 days, woo, for you. Okay. All right. But so yeah, a retention bonus, 6 months. Maybe you flip $500 their way after 6 months. It's not a lot to you because then they're worth what they're producing. They generate $500 a day in revenue potential. But $500 to them in 6 months is huge. And then if they stay another 6 months, maybe it's another 500. Ooh, let's get crazy. Maybe it's 1,000. But to somebody who makes $10, $11, $12 an hour, it's a big deal. And you set up these milestones along the way, and we'll teach you how to do that. Where should they be 3 months from now? And every 3 months, you're sitting down with them and you're measuring their production and you're working with them so that they get faster and they can do more. And it just drives business for you and drives hours for them.
So a couple questions. This also comes up a lot, how to pay them hourly or commission. So I'll let you talk a little bit about that, Joe. And then there is another question I'll go to after that.
Okay. So paying for groom techs. Paying groom techs, I will say the most common and my preferred method, now you don't have to do this, but my preferred method is hourly. My preferred method is hourly. And what I would study before is because you want to be a competitive employer, right? Because you're probably competing with the sub sandwich shop down the street, the big box store down the street, the local market for that level of employee, that hourly rate. Okay. So we want you to be competitive. But the very first thing I would do is we need to study to see where your average ticket price is. Because remember, we want to be at the wages to sales ratio, we want to be at around 25%, equivalent of about 25%. So if your average ticket price is $50, 25% is $12.50 an hour. That's not a bad hourly rate for most markets. Now, That's on a $50 average ticket. If you're upstate, if you're downtown New York City or in LA or San Diego, well, your grooming price tag isn't going to be at $50 to begin with. It's going to be $70, $80. 25% is still 25% of that number. So what is that hourly rate? So as long as it's commensurate to that, staying around at 25%. So I like the hourly for groom techs. And there's all kinds of ways to pay groomers when they get there. I've seen all three scenarios. I've seen commission, salary, and hourly work for groomers, as long as you know what you're working with as a percentage of your profit margin. And that's what we need to, that's what you need to, that's your anchor. That drives everything.
Yeah, that's great. And then Kathleen had asked, does the level 1 groom tech program teach a good de-shedding procedure we can offer to our clients?
Currently, level 1 does not teach the shed control treatment steps that I'm referring to, but I can teach you those steps, clearly identify what that order is. It's not rocket science. What I will tell you this, Kathleen, is that what level 1 teaches them are the skills necessary to do this procedure, because the treatment has to be in a certain order to be the most effective. Believe me, I've tinkered. What am I going on? 37 years now in this business? Oh my gosh, am I crazy? 37 years in this business. I've tinkered with every which way of doing this program. Pretty much have it down to a science after that amount of time. But they will learn the techniques and the fundamentals so that they can do the steps.
Awesome. Joe, we're wanting to add revenue, and you're going to have a trained groom tech that can do it. Do you have tips on how to actually sell to the clients?
Yeah.
Even pulling a shed, or even just why getting a professional bath is better?
Yeah. The very first one is that word selling, right? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not a salesperson. Good. We don't want salespeople. I'm a salesperson, but I do it in a special sort of way. But you don't have to be a salesperson. In fact, we don't want salespeople. We want people that do really great at recommending. So the very first thing is you've got to offer fewer services, add-ons especially. Fewer choices. The more choices, the more you're diluting the customer's attention. And it's just too much is too much. It's overload. Okay. So that's the very first thing, is reduce the choices for the customers. Trust me, they will make a choice among smaller assortment of services. I promise you. They're not going to say, oh, you don't have the 11th choice anymore, I'm not going to do it. They will. I promise you they will. You just have to trust me on that. All right. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we don't want salespeople. We want people to do a really great job recommending. And I have a whole training program. In fact, I work with lots of full service pet care facilities with their reception and reservation specialist teams on the art of recommending with conviction. Now, it's when was the last time? Here's what it feels like. When it's done, when was the last time you purchased something or had a service done you couldn't wait to tell your friends about? That's recommending with conviction, and it can happen. In fact, we don't want salespeople. It's the worst thing we can ever do is have salespeople. We want people that recommend with conviction, and I can teach you how. But Susan, to your point, yeah, there's a much better way of approaching it. And those that recommending with conviction, you could take into your lodging add-ons, you could take into your daycare add-ons, your training add-ons. All the way. If a pet's there, listen, all we have to really do is invite people to spend their money. And if we do it in a very purposeful, caring way, that the pet has a better experience and or the pet parent has a better experience, all we have to do is invite them to separate themselves from their money, and they will.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that goes to really understanding how it is beneficial. If you're talking about your services just because in your mind you're like, I need money, then it's not going to come across well. But we all know the great thing about the pet industry is we know there are people out there, most of them out there running these businesses, truly care about the animals that are in their care. And so we all know when we see a dog come in that it's matted, that dog is uncomfortable. Or you see a dog with really long nails, that dog is uncomfortable. They're not walking, their feet are probably hurting, and the owner probably has no idea. So for us to be able to say we can help with that, I think is the best way, whether you're recommending some kind of a bath, a groom, lodging, daycare, whatever. If you're doing those services well, you're helping the dog. So I think it really comes down to that, making sure you're letting that client know. In fact, you should be asking yourself, why wouldn't you tell your client that this is something that's going to help their dog? So
here's the problem. Just like offering too many options, sometimes we use too many words. Sometimes because we care so much, we feel compelled to tell them every little detail about what it is we're going to do. You know what? I got news for you, folks. The customer doesn't care. Customer doesn't care about all of those. You know what they care about? That their pet has a great experience. They have a great experience. And if you focus on results oriented recommendations, that's all that matters. What do they get? What does their pet get? That's what they care about. So sometimes, Robin, to your point, sometimes we care too much.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I will say Susan and I had a marketing guy a long, long time ago. So we always use this phrase now that told us a confused mind always says no. So when you have too many options, this is true of anything. And this is definitely true with any human behavior trying to choose something. You guys know yourself. How many of you have gone to a restaurant and it's like page after page and you're just like, there's too many choices. You can't decide. And it's because psychologically our minds are like, they shut down when there's too many choices. And that's how your clients are. So when you've talked to Susan and I and you've had lots and lots of add-ons, we are usually or you have that whole a la carte page where you're like, we got like everything under the sun. We always will tell you either bundle some of them together or just ditch some of them altogether, because your clients are not going to choose consistently from a long laundry list of stuff like that. They need 3 to 4 choices max. That's and right. Then they make a decision. So I definitely agree with that, trying to really reduce their options for having them make a decision about too many things.
And it's 3 or 4 choices, maybe 2 to 3 choices in grooming. It's 2 or 3, 4 choices in lodging. It's 2 to 3, 4 choices in daycare. So yeah, it can get, but part of recommending with conviction, and again, I do these workshops and these clinics, like 1-hour workshops with the front of the house team. I give them the words and just say these, literally parrot these words. These are the words. I've crafted these words. I've crafted how they should be said, the tone in which they should be said. And if you just ask every question every time, it's just a numbers game. It's a broken clock is right twice a day. So even if all you remember to do is just ask the questions all the time, you're going to have success greater than what you're experiencing possibly now. Yep.
That's great. So creative ways to add revenue. What else is going on that you see that's been successful for folks that maybe you could share?
I will tell you that grooming during a pandemic year and after the still hanging on to pandemic year, that's the pandemic year and whatever, grooming has not slowed down. Grooming is actually, maybe some of you out there can attest to this, grooming has kept some pet care facilities open.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it's so important. I will tell you this. I will tell you, in my best estimation, this is going to be a year of 2 halves. We've got this first half where we're still, okay, we're going to get vaccinated. When are we going to get vaccinated? Are we going to get comfortable enough with, and I'm talking the general population, our customers. Are we going to get comfortable enough again to get on a plane, go to a hotel, go out in public again, get out of my house? Are we going to get comfortable with doing all of those things? And then we're going to hit like July and August, right? I think the second half of the year, it's going to be like everybody's freshman year in college. I think people are going to come unhinged. So what? Okay, so all of you out there laughing, Robin, you're laughing even more.
Because Susan and I have been saying the same thing. We're like, you guys, it's gonna
get ready.
The rush is gonna come as fast as we saw everything shut down a year ago. Susan and I have been trying to say this for a while. We're like, y'all need to prepare, because I think we've all been lulled into not so much groomers, but in daycare and lodgings, particularly lodging, we've all been lulled into this, oh, it's so slow. Oh, it's so slow. And I think the floodgates are going to open when they open. And then we're going to be, in fact, we just talked to one of our Profit Network folks. I was just on a call with her right before this call, and she's literally seeing that now. And she's in California. And some of that is because places near her are closing. And some of it is because California is now opening up a tiny bit and people are like hell bent to get out of their house. So she's now saying, I don't have enough staff. And it's not because they have COVID. It's because I have too many dogs right now, which is the first we've heard that in a year.
Yeah. And daycare, I've heard daycare's rebounded pretty well. A lot of daycares are at or comping even some, in some cases, the people I talked to, some might even be comping better than this time last year. Maybe we'll actually get a positive. We'll get this slingshot effect, which is after the pandemic is a little bit more in our rearview mirror. Maybe it won't be out of our memory for a long time. And it still will have its kind of claws into us for a while. But as people, I think people have an appreciation for getting their pets. I really think people have the same feeling for their pets. The pets haven't been able to get out as much as they need to. So I think daycares will get stronger and stronger. What are you doing now to prepare for that? So as I'm looking at grooming, the best way to make money right now is to pull as many of those customers in through valid reasoning so that they get introduced to all of your other services. Start building those relationships now, because they're going to want to go multiple. You're going to have other, I think this will be an opportunity for a lot of other people to pop up services that pop up in service providers that pop up in your market. Okay. Because they're going to sniff that out. They're going to see that there's opportunity there. So right now is the time to really start solidifying your relationships, start growing your staff. It might seem a little bit ahead of the boom, if you would, or the rebound, but in grooming's great because you could start bringing in groom techs, focus on shed control, and start driving bath business. Then you have time to start developing groomers. If you started a groom tech right now who graduated the groom tech program through Paragon's distance learning program, they're going to be a groom tech in about 5 to 6 weeks, right? Some even faster, especially if they have some bathing experience. They've been doing a little bit of it, dabbling with it in your facility. But then if they go into level 2 pet groomer, we can graduate pet groomers through level 2 in about 10 weeks. So if you add you got 16 weeks, what do you have? 4 months. Yeah. 4 months. Where does that put us? 4 months. That puts us in June. It's going to come, and you're going to need them. So let's start working with them now.
That's what we've been stressing to our members as well, is this is the time to start focusing on training and getting people used to a busier schedule than what you've seen the past year, because it is going to happen. And my fear is that it's going to happen so quickly. If you're not planning for it now and training for it now, it's going to happen, and you're going to feel completely overwhelmed and lose the opportunity that you have right in front of you right now. So this is a great time, I think, to start getting people trained. And especially if you want to add those baths at a higher level, at a higher revenue point anyway, then this is a great time to get your staff trained up with.
Well, it's like buying a lottery ticket, knowing in about 4 or 5, 6 months you're going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. People own, there are more dog owning households out there, pet parents out there. Shelter numbers are at their lowest in history. Some shelters are even closing. Rescues, foster homes are almost evaporating because all of these puppies and pets that need a forever home are actually getting them. Right. So there are more paying pets, if you would, in everybody's market. So again, I liken it to you just bought the winning lottery ticket. You're just waiting for the 4 months until you win.
Yep. And Maria said she opened her salon January 4th and hardly has any available dates now through March. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. All right. We have a left. And I don't know if you want to close up with, if you have any other questions.
I think Susan had something real quick.
Yeah, I think Marie has a great point, and that's the reason, like, if you get this in process now, then as your daycare clients come back and you talk to them and do the recommendation with conviction about how being on a regular bath or shed control program is good for your clients, tell them we're getting really busy and booking far in advance, so let's get your slots booked now. And so you would then could even forecast how many more groom techs do you need to put through training. What is your demand? And you can come out of this and really have great revenue strengths from your other service businesses as they come back to get your whole process put in place now. Get your staff trained, get everybody to understand the value and how you're going to communicate that, and really make up for lost revenue quickly.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just see Adrian Norton there, or Adrian, sorry, maybe I'm not supposed to use last names. Hi, Adrian. There's a familiar name. I've worked with Adrian before, so maybe if you hated me, don't say it. But if you love me, then say it, right? So
yeah, she said she's up over 50% from last year. So
yeah.
And for those, I will say, for those that maybe joined us halfway through this, and we're talking about adding groom techs, and some of you I know just say, I don't want to do grooming at my facility, but if you go back and listen to the beginning where we really talked about 99.9% of the pet care facilities we work with who are not full-time groomers, like it's another service industry business like daycare or lodging, you are probably already doing baths. So we're really just saying, if all you do is fully train somebody to be that level 1 groom tech who can do a better bath and you can charge a higher price for it, you're gonna benefit right there. So I think just don't rule out, oh, I don't want to do full service grooming, because you can have a lot more revenue just with baths without having to do any kind of haircuts, if that's not your thing or that's not what you want to add. So definitely, if you joined us halfway in that and you're thinking, I don't want to do grooming, go back and listen to the beginning and make sure that,
because again, you can have a thriving and profitable grooming business without having a haircut business. So just start somewhere. And our goal is to keep your groom techs so busy that you cannot use them in other areas of your business. Let's keep them busy all day being a groom tech. And I can work with you and show you how to do that. So again, it's okay. No experience, no problem. Let's start building your grooming team and your grooming business by way of Groom Techs, Paragon's distance learning program, paragonpetschool.com. Use my promo code JZ100 to save $100 off any of the enrollments and even some of the discounted enrollments. And then if you want to talk about how do I just get to know my business better, my grooming business better, so that I can position myself to then need people to put through the program, I'd be happy. I'm a freelance consultant as well. You can go to my website at heyjoepetpro.com. I'll give you a free 15-minute consultation. Let's get on a phone and hammer through some things. Let me get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, and I did have all those links are in the comments as well. And I will throw this up here because Marilyn just said, my husband, Prince Anderson, is on level 3 in Paragon Grooming, and he has made our whole grooming department much more profitable, enjoyable, and our technicians full of new knowledge. Paragon's great. Can't thank them enough. So
wow, thank you, Marilyn.
Little testimonial there. So that was really nice. I will tell you that Susan and I have no affiliation with Paragon other than we know Joe and we love the program. So I will tell you, though, we do highly recommend them, obviously. And we have heard nothing but good things from the students that we know from our clients who have sent their employees there. We have heard nothing but good things about them, which is why we do stand behind them to say, if you need training and you really need assistance with this. And for us, since the Dog Gurus is all about helping you grow your business, you're doing baths anyway. You might as well do baths with somebody that is trained to do them, gives you a better quality bath. It's a better reputation for your business, and it's more profitable. So for us, it's just a no-brainer. So that is when we learned about Joe and got to know him, and his values are so aligned with ours. That is why we bring him here to help you with all of this. And he really is our go-to person for anything grooming. So if you talk to us about grooming, we'll send you to Joe anyway. So